Hi there. The United States spends a lot on its military, like a lot, and now we're taking money from other parts of the government to cover even more military spending.
We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare.
Next year's military budget proposal has nearly doubled when compared to 2024 to $1.5 trillion. Today, I want to take a look at some of the specific programs costing the world's largest economy an arm and a leg. To start with, $2 trillion, the size of the entire economy of South Korea, the 15th largest economy in the world, and about 2.5 Elon Musk's. I need to double check that. Yep, the math checks out. This guy who can never deliver what he says is about to be a trillionaire. I can't imagine it happening to a more deserving individual. But this $2 trillion is not about Elon. It is the cost of the Lockheed Martin F35 program, the third-ish stealthiest aircraft that is currently operational by air forces around the world, designed to get in, complete its mission, and leave before the enemy even knows that they're there. It was hit. The crew didn't even know they were being observed and targeted. There was no flare. It was a total opposite from what the aircraft was designed to do, and it's only been in service for 11 years, with plans to keep it operational until 2088. This is not a cheap aircraft to buy or operate by any means. It costs a Ford Bronco an hour to fly, and it's not even the first time it was targeted. The Houthis, which are the group controlling most of Yemen, have gotten so close to hitting the aircraft before, it forced the pilot to evade it. If Iran, who has a smaller economy than both Alabama and Kentucky, can find a way to target the F-35, and even non-state militias can target the F-35, what can a nation like Russia and China do against it? And how will it still be able to do its job for 62 years in the future? I don't know if Grandpa F-35 in the year 2085 will be as stealthy as it is today. It will be like using a B-17 to invade Iraq. Compared to this, I just want some high-speed rail. It might actually help people with things like an airline going out of business because of a global energy shock from another war in the Middle East. For our second example, let's look at the Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile, or the JASSM missile. During the initial phase of bombings against Iran, we used an estimated 1,100 of them. It is a stealthy missile for the Air Force designed to shoot at high-value targets from a safe other side of the country distance. They cost $2.6 million each, so we spent over $2.6 billion on just this one missile type since the war with Iran began. I guess the military forgot to ask the Autobots for help. Who makes the JASSM? It's Lockheed Martin. Again, Lockheed Martin sure does make some very expensive, probably overpriced products. They're like my landlord, painting over the mold in the bathroom wall and doubling my rent after I move out. But instead, Lockheed Martin just paints over planes with a Celt paint and adds a T to the cost of the program. Them and a couple other defense contractors do sure seem like the landlords of making military equipment. Maybe Eisenhower was right. All of these expensive, overpriced weapons used by dudes just trying to pay for college or get healthcare. They're losing against the real life equivalent of a Zerg rush, really, with the Zerg being the Shahed drones that the Iranians use in the tens of thousands, which are basically just lawnmowers with wings and explosives strapped to them. Each one of these can cost less than $10,000, and we have to use at least two multi-million-dollar missiles to shoot down each one. The shoulders that shoot these basically Ferraris of missiles, get paid less than $30,000 a year as well. If you are enjoying this video, consider liking and subscribing to join our growing community and get more videos like this one. Now let's look at some of our biggest toys, our basically floating cities. I'm talking about aircraft carriers, costing more than $10 billion each, and they don't even seem to have plumbing because shirts just seem to randomly clog the pipes. Let's talk about the food these sailors eat, like the lobster and steak they get once. What they eat every other time looks more like this. What the fuck is that? Is that just one kebab stick? And I assume some coleslaw? Man, I never even thought to pair kebab and some coleslaw. And they're eating this. I guess that's supposed to be a meal. On top of a table with an Abraham Lincoln wallpaper, and they have a Rick and Morty lunchbox. And look at this one. 2 eggs, no ham, one's already broken, and just some fucking slop. Man, Olive Garden can probably serve something better than this. And then there is this one with some carrots, meat, and something I assume is meat-ish, maybe. Jesus, what are they feeding these sailors? My school lunch back in the 2000s was better than this. For some of these other ships, the Navy paid $2.8 million per crew member for them to be built, but I guess they forgot to budget for these sailors' meals and also toilets. We can't have both, I guess. It's either food or another aircraft carrier. So I guess Timmy isn't eating. Compared to this, ending world hunger would only cost $40 billion a year, or about 4 aircraft carriers. I think that would be better for everyone if we invested in that instead. With all these super expensive defense projects, the military realized maybe we need some options to the super expensive weapons that we currently have. The leaders at the Pentagon realized we just might be overwhelmed by the sheer number of things like drones or cheaper missiles. They realized the weapon system they had might be out of date for modern conflicts, and they turned to the tech industry to build the next generation of military tech. Because of course they did. They came up with what everyone is saying and currently focusing on: drones. These aren't the Iranian ones or Turkish ones, but new American ones, where they can cost more than $200 million each, or we can take a Shahed drone and put a Starlink on it and call it a Lucas and make it much more expensive than a Shahed is to produce. That's another option. Wait, is that right? $200 million for this? Oh my god. Why is it so expensive? And we lost some in Iran already? And to the Houthis? I thought drones were supposed to be cheap. Why does this cost more than an F-35? Why does this cost 2 F-35s? It doesn't even need crew. How is this not just pure defense bloat? No wonder the Pentagon can't pass an audit. For new weapons, the military turned to a tech guy to build futuristic weapons previously only seen in sci-fi, created by the smartest people in Silicon Valley. You might have heard of Anduril and their CEO, this guy. Yup, this guy. Palmer Luckey. Jesus Christ. Look, I get the branding he's going for, but why? I'm not kidding. The military has given this guy $20 billion to create the next generation of weapons, and now they're trying to expand into Europe. So where did he come from? Well, he made Oculus as a kid and sold it to Facebook, and of course Zuckerberg is to be blamed for starting this guy's career. And what did this guy come up with? Drones, just not very good ones. They were used in Ukraine, but performed so badly in Ukraine that the Ukrainian government kicked Anduril out of the country and phased out their drones from service. God, shitification does truly come for us all, and the military is not going to be spared. But who could have guessed that this guy was a bullshitting grifter? It's not like tech is filled with guys like this. And what's up with all these tech guys making defense stuff using names from Lord of the Rings for their companies? I think Token, who survived one of the bloodiest battles in history with 1 million casualties, would be sick to know of these guys naming their weapons manufacturing companies after terms from the Lord of the Rings. Maybe the Tolkien estate which care so much about the IP for Lord of the Rings, should say something about this. If we harvested the power of Tolkien turning in his grave, this might help put a dent in the energy crisis. So where should we go from here? And what should happen? First, this defense bloat has to just stop. The defense budget has to be reduced, not increased to over $1.5 trillion a year. Right now, 1 out of every $4 in federal taxes we pay goes to the military. A lot of that money should be invested domestically instead in things like infrastructure, healthcare, and childcare. Instead of contracting defense work to private companies, we should instead think about investing in developing our own weapons. And finally, the Pentagon should have to pass an audit. Thank you all for watching. I will leave you with President Eisenhower's speech on the defense industry.
A nation's hope of lasting peace cannot be firmly based upon any race in armaments, but rather upon just relations and honest understanding with all other nations. This has been the way of life, forged by 8 years of fear and force. What can the world, or any nation in it, hope for if no turning is found on this dread road? The worst to be feared and the best to be expected can be simply stated. The worst is atomic war. The best would be this: a life of perpetual fear and tension, a burden of arms draining the wealth and labor of all peoples, a wasting of strength that defies the American system or the Soviet system or any system to achieve true abundance and happiness for the peoples of this earth. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and are not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It is spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children. The cost of one modern heavy bomber is this: a modern brick school in more than 30 cities. It is 2 electric power plants, each serving a town of 60,000 population. It is 2 fine, fully equipped hospitals. It is some 50 miles of concrete pavement. We pay for a single fighter plane with 500,000 bushels of wheat. We pay for a single destroyer with new homes that could have housed more than 8,000 people. This is, I repeat, the best way of life to be found on the road the world has been taking. This is not a way of life at all, in any true sense. Under the cloud of threatening war, it is humanity hanging from a cross of iron.